good. I know that one I had was it was kind of an early generation, but they're probably rolling. Well, that guy, I'm just creeping up on him, and I'm going like 65, so he's probably rolling 60 miles an hour. That's pretty good. That one I had, it only run 55, was pushing it pretty hard, but these guys probably got the overdrive. Mine didn't. It's kind of something cool. Ain't seen that in a while. Well, that last little clip was from the other day when I didn't have this pilot control valve on it. I had just taken it off and stuck that bag on there to cover up all them lines. There are 10 little lines coming off of this manifold down here. I guess it's called a manifold. Anyhow, these lines control the direction of the machine, so forward, neutral, and reverse. And then there's 2 forward speeds, there's 2 reverse speeds. So, you know, a whole bunch of little lines, and they plug into this little bastard. This thing is no longer supported by International. Of course, International was bought out by Dresser, was bought out by Komatsu. So you call Komatsu for parts, and they'll give you a part number because they'll help you out that much, because they don't offer any parts for this thing. So no parts, no kits, no, you can't buy that part, you can't buy a kit to rebuild it. So I took it to CRS Hydraulics Shop in Harrison, Ohio, and they said they did the best they could. They felt pretty confident that they got me fixed up. They put new seals on the ends here, some new O-rings inside and stuff. There was some sort of apparatus in there that they did not want to take apart, so they soaked it and cleaned it out as well they could, and then put it back together. So they did not completely disassemble it. The guy told me he was afraid he'd take it apart, he'd never get it back together. So we'll see how they do. The price was right. They only charged me about 120 bucks to do it. I took it to them Monday. Today is Friday, and I just picked it up. So we'll see how it does. I'm going to speculate it's just about got to be better than it was, because it was leaking and it wouldn't go into gear worth a hoot. So let's hope for the best here. But anyhow, it's called a pilot control valve, and I don't know how well this is going to show up in the sun and all that out here. But this valve itself has cast into it F1, R2, N. Each one of these little outlets has got a cast letter by it. You know, it's supposed to stand for forward, forward 1, reverse 2. So anyhow, I made myself a little diagram. I drew up a piece of paper. When I took it apart, which line went to where on that manifold. So, you know, like F1 here goes to the second one from the right on the bottom down here. So I'm going to follow that little diagram, try to put this all back together. This was a pain in the ass taking it apart. It took me 2.5 hours to take that handle apart and get that thing off there. So I would suspect it's going to take probably that long to put it back together. All the bolts were seized in there real bad. It was a pain in the butt beating them bolts to get them out with my little impact screwdriver on some of them. And anyhow, that's what I'm working on here, and I'll kind of update you maybe as we go, or at least when I'm done here. We'll see what it does. So that's the pilot control valve right there. Well, the last video, last little clip there, you saw me installing this pilot control valve, or fixing to anyhow. So I put, yeah, it's hard to see, but there's 10 little lines that go into the bottom of this thing. So I had it out here where I could get to it, and I put all 10 of them lines on. I shoved it in there, and then I had to reattach this arm. It's got a spring on a rod down in there. I'd put this plate back on here. Had this plate off for the meantime. I had this plate off, and the machine was sitting over there. So I was able to put the thing on, started the machine up. It needed to purge some of the air out, so it seemed like it was kind of working a little bit better. As I backed up, and I backed over there to the driveway, and I got into the driveway, and I was going to bring it around here, and I was going to park it over there in the grass and pressure wash it and get it cleaned up, because, you know, I just brought this machine home, so I want to pressure wash it, clean it up. Then I'm going to crawl up under there and change all the fluids and everything, which is going to be a pretty major undertaking, but I wanted to be clean when I did it. So but unfortunately, that's about as far as I got. When I got there, it started really acting up, so I pulled it back over here in front of the shop where I can get my tools and stuff back out here. and this is it. This is where it stopped, and I can't get it to go back in gear at all. So I've done some calling around, try to figure out what's going on with this. Talked to a couple of guys that have either had issues with something similar to this or know what they're talking about dealing with this hydrostatic or hydraulic drive systems. And kind of the consensus is, see, it's not coming out of neutral. It's supposed to click into two positions here, then go over and come back to this position, click back here. It won't do anything. So I've got some pressure in the line still, and what I think is going on here, and after talking to those fellas, I got dirt somewhere in my lines or in this valve or something. There's something blocking a line up and holding pressure, and that should not be. So because of that, the one guy I talked to, he said, man, you got to drain your tank, you got to change your filters, you got to do that now. So, well, I can't move it anyhow, so that's what I'm going to do now. So that's what I'm working on. I got my jack set up there. I'm going to get the belly pans off of this thing before I do anything. I'm going to order a book for it. Today is Sunday. I'm going to order a book for it tomorrow, get a service manual. But I figure I got to take the belly pans off this thing anyhow, make sure it's good and clean up under there. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to see if I can try to get one off before it gets dark. It's getting pretty dark pretty quick. So that's what I'm working on. All right, I kind of doubt you're going to be able to see much down here, but essentially there's 3 pans as you move up the length of this machine. There's 3 pans to take off. This one here, again, I don't know how well you can see, but there should be 8 bolts holding this rear pan on. I've reached up and removed the front 4 bolts using a 15/16 and an impact wrench. These back 4 are still on, but before I take those out, these pans can be so heavy that they can kill you. So you don't want to be under it when you take the bolts out, or not all the bolts. So I removed the front 4. I'm going to put a jack under this pan to support the weight, and then I'm going to remove the back 4. So I'm going to put my jack under there right now and do that. Okay, so you can see I got my jack under here now, and I'm going to remove these last 4 bolts. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but put a little more tension on. I got a lot of tension on the jack. You can hear that popping. That's plywood crackling. I want it to really be holding up on that plate when I unscrew it, or unbolt it. So I got my tension on it. I'm going to unbolt it, and then I'm going to let the jack down, and that plate should come down. Now, hopefully these plates don't have a bunch of junk on them. The old boy that I bought this machine off of said they just had the plates off of this thing a couple years ago, so there shouldn't be a huge accumulation of grease and dirt and grime, but that's what kills you. It's all the weight from the dirt and oil and grungy shit on top of the plate. You know, the plates can weigh, I guess, a few hundred pounds. But if they were cleaned recently, hopefully this won't be that heavy. But I'm going to do that now. I'll update you in a bit. All right, so you can see I just lowered the pan down. Didn't have a whole lot of crap on it, but you see the slop and shit just slowly kind of oozing down, falling out of there. That's the weight that I was talking about, that nasty, sopping wet junk that accumulates on top of the pan. And the pan is not real thick, but all that shit will accumulate on top of the pan, you know, 8, 10, 12 inches deep. And people have been killed by these pans before. So if you guys are dropping belly pans, be super careful when you do it. So I'm going to drag the jack and that plate out from under here, clean all the shit up, and we'll take a peek up in there and see what everything looks like. Alright, well, I've completely lost the light, so it's dark. I got the pan off. The crap's still kind of dripping out from under there, so I cut me an old piece of cardboard. Just bought a creeper from Harbor Freight the other day, so I could crawl up under this thing to do it. So there's the box. I'm going to leave that box under there. We're supposed to get some weather. I won't be able to get out here and work on this thing for a few days. So I'm supposed to have a snowstorm coming in, and I'm not going to have any free time anyhow to come out here. So just in case more of that shit falls down, I don't want it falling down into my gravel. So we'll let all that sludge and slop fall down into there. I scraped this other, the pan, I went ahead and scraped it up. It only had, I guess it only had about 3 inches of sludge and shit on it. So that old boy must not have been pulling my leg. They must have cleaned this off recently, so, you know, within the last 10 years or so probably. But it's a heavy thing. I mean, it probably weighs, I'll bet you just that plate weighs 80 pounds. So anyhow, that's it. I'm gonna leave it lay out here and the weather work on it, clean it up a little better. So we'll pull them other 2 pans off here in a few days, and we'll continue working on this thing.